Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and just let me say thank you for your deference to those of us in the lower part of the chamber. Appreciate you two being here this morning and visiting about this important topic. A couple of things I wanted to talk about, but the subject today certainly has been about the selective enforcement. And so to pivot off of the previous questioner, impacts of actions taken can be beneficial or negative. And given the last remarks we just heard, even if the benefits are beneficial, isn't EPA still required to consult and prove one way or the other the impacts of an action, whether they be good or bad?
Thank you, sir. I would answer that this way. EPA's responsibility in the first instance is to determine whether the actions, whether its actions will cause effects that are reasonably certain to occur. Those can be either beneficial or detrimental for a particular endangered species. That's their obligation. Right.
Good or bad. So, and unlike some believe, people on both sides of the aisle have concerns for endangered species and certainly want to be as smart as we can about rules that we implement to protect them. In my home state of Washington, and many other parts of the Northwest, since the salmon door's been opened, I'll just ask about this. Multiple agencies, including NOAA, have been locked in litigation for many years over operation of hydroelectric dams, irrigation projects, certainly on the Columbia Snake River system, about whether these projects affect several species of ESA-listed salmon. We spend in the Northwest close to $1 billion a year, as you're aware. Ratepayers do on this issue. Yet many species have seen multiple years of record or near record returns, and you referenced in your testimony. Could you comment quickly, we don't have much time, on why the agency has not been able to produce a defensible biological opinion that I think would end years of uncertainty and litigation for our Northwest citizens? And then as a follow-up question to that, while you're thinking, I understand that NOAA is reviewing status of 28 species of salmon in the Northwest. Could you speculate as to whether any of these species will be delisted in the future?
Yeah, thank you for the question. As you indicate, we have had numerous biological opinions on the Federal Columbia River Power System. Some of them we did win in court on. Some of them we had to reinitiate consultation and we subsequently lost. The current one, which is a 2008 opinion, was initially found by the court to be invalid. That litigation is ongoing. We amended that, supplemented that opinion, and we're currently in litigation. So we believe that we have developed a defensible biological opinion, and we're waiting, hopefully, on the court to agree with us. We expect a ruling sometime this year. In terms of the other species, you're absolutely right. We are reviewing the status of all of our Pacific salmonids. We expect to have initial determinations on that sometime next year, early next year. So I can't tell you at the moment whether or not any of them are candidates for delisting, but we are actively looking at that question.
Okay. Mr. Bean, certainly concerned about the lack of progress in advancing the proposed rule to delist the gray wolf. And I'm sure you're familiar with the situation in my state of Washington. Do you think that the service should move forward with finalizing and implementing the proposed rule for delisting? And could you please explain why the service hasn't met its statutory deadline to do so?
Yes, sir. Thank you for the question. Certainly the view of the Fish and Wildlife Service expressed many times is that wolves have recovered and no longer need the protection of the Endangered Species Act. The proposal that you reference was built upon an assumption that the wolves in the Great Lakes would be delisted, and they were for a time, but a court decision overturned that, and that has forced the Fish and Wildlife Service to reevaluate its options It remains, however, of the view that wolves have recovered and do no longer need the protection of the Act.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.